It's not real mine, just
Because we've got the other kids until later. Showrunner is an all-encompassing job because there are always things to do, and I have to make hundreds, literally hundreds of decisions, sometimes more in the course of a day. And how many do we have of these? You have to look at what's your show, who are your actors, who are your members of your crew, what kind of writers are you going to bring in, and then who are you? How are you going to run your own show? And I am very, very hands-on. And I think when you've created a show that has many elements of you and your family and the people that you're close to and the experiences that you have, it's hard to back off and just delegate. The feet, where she says there's, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
100%.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. People who wish they were writers or want to be writers will ask me about the writer's room. What is that cloistered little space called the writer's room, and how does it work? Every day, the writers will meet inside a room with a door, hopefully soundproofed, and we will talk about where we are in the process, meaning when we first get together. It's very daunting. You got 15 blank spaces. You have to come up with 15 episode ideas.
What happens in the writer's room is that we get to know each other very well, very quickly. The group of writers that Janet puts together, we talk about everything. Our families, our kids, our life experiences, and somehow some of those things work their way into the stories themselves.
2 more episodes. Okay. It comes very slowly and very organically. And so you try to populate the room with a balance of male and female. I like people who have had another profession, like myself. They've had life experience, they've traveled, and then we talk. So we do some sort of chase scene.
Janet comes in with a very clear vision of where she really wants things to go. And then if things change or there's a detour that's taken, she's really open. So if something really magical happens or somebody says something, she'll be like, oh yeah, that's great. Let's go with that.
Okay, I'm gonna put an exclamation point. That means, woohoo! Act out. I always think, what would I watch? What would interest me? Why would I want to write something I wouldn't want to watch myself? Why wouldn't I want to be deeply invested and passionate about it?
Janet Tamaro is a wonderful leader, and she's really smart, and every script that she gives us is always unpredictable. You don't know where it's gonna go. It's not a typical police procedural. It's human relations, it's life. So that's really fun, and that makes it, I think, fresh for everybody, every new episode.
I will have an idea of where I want to go in a particular episode, and then the other writers will weigh in, and they will come up with ideas I couldn't possibly come up with because they have different life experiences than I have.
Well, we have that child who's been out there for
Oh.
3 years, 3 years before she went in the program.
So that says to me, we got a nice little chase something here.
Every room is different. This room tends to start with what would be fun for Maura and Jane, good places to place them in.
The thought behind it is you use all this collective brain power and you start with the big idea and then you slowly but surely shape it scene by scene. So by the end of a day, it's evolved to a place where it's a much better story than it would have been if it was just you. And that is a much faster process and can be a much more rewarding process.
With Janet leading that creative process, we just start hitting the story, and the story will take on a life of its own, and then Jane and Maura will live in that. So it really begins to gather a lot of momentum, and it's a really creative and fun experience to do that, to break story.
Partners, I don't want TNT saying, these are kids in tiaras, even though they are. Dancing kids. When you start fresh, when you have no idea what episode 14 is, it's daunting. I knew I wanted to do a dance episode. I had that in my head. Once you know, okay, let's set it in the dance world, you very quickly get to who's your first suspect? Probably a mother. If another mother is dead, it's got to be a competing mother. So once we got to that place, we kept thinking, okay, how do we make this more interesting? And how does it make that left turn so that the viewers are interested? Because people have seen a lot of crime drama and a lot of procedurals. If they can sit back and catch our mystery after the first act, we've kind of failed.
You know that you have to hit these certain moments You know, they're called turns, like the mystery has to take a turn in order to move off one thing and take the story in another direction.
So we have to keep coming up with, okay, what's the unexpected that still stays in the realm? And from that big story, it gets smaller and smaller, and then you start to see who these people are and who's in this world. That our victim may be in witness protection program. I feel like that's where we're heading, don't you? When you're starting from scratch, just so you don't go crazy, you have to oversimplify. And I like to begin with, what's the crime? We have what we call the crime beats, because the first thing we do is figure out who's the victim, what's the crime, what's the motive. Some incredibly smart.
When Janet says crime beat, we're really talking about what are the procedural steps of this crime, both from a detective's investigation and from a medical forensic investigation.
Lady gets murdered, discover lady has had massive plastic surgery, lady was in witness protection program, bad husband is after lady, bad husband kidnaps girl. And those are the oversimplified big crime beats.
And I found evidence of repetitive spiral fractures to both of her wrists, at least 3.
So she's a battered spouse. Murder almost always happens between people who know each other. And in the stories that we tell, it's much more interesting, certainly to me as a writer, and I think to our viewers, if we start to excavate the victim's life and we think, okay, who wanted that person dead and why?
Meeting in Revere. Can I take my daughter home now?
Yeah. We'll need to talk to you again.
All right, come on.
Janet is really masterful at creating compelling crimes and also compelling victims. We have to care about what happened and about the victim, and there has to be enough of a interesting or compelling life that victim led that can lead you down a couple of different investigative paths.
In the dance episode, we come around and find out that our victim was in fact hiding all kinds of secrets. Well, why? And then it takes on a whole other feel. Then the story goes in a different direction. As writers, we have to plot that out and figure it out and make sure it makes sense.
That's generally typically the A story. The A story is whatever crime they're solving. The B story is a personal story.
Back off, all of you.
The B story is what's really more interesting, which is the characters. And the reason people watch shows is you want to invite these people into your home.
God almighty!
When I started season 2, it was a big opportunity to start to dig and find out, okay, who are these people that we're inviting into our living rooms? I wanted to know who Sergeant Detective Vince Corsack was. I wanted to know who Frankie Jr. was. And of course, I absolutely wanted to know and continue to want to know, who are these two women? Who's Jane, who's Maura? Where did they come from? How did they get here? How will they react in certain situations? And I don't ever want it to feel predictable.
I think that she'd be the first to tell you there's not a formula to Rizzoli and Isles. Like tell the story the way you have to tell the story. She's very free in that way. She's not rigid and said, you know, it's 6 acts and you have to be right here, right here. No.
Janet likes to be surprised. She likes to go along with the ride. There is a lot of passion in the show, and with Janet sparking to an idea that's an infusion in the scripts and what's shot and what ends up being on TV.
Okay, we got a killer who entered and exited a dance competition. What I want to know is, why here? Why now?
Don't you ever find yourself watching a movie or a film and you sit back and you think, I don't understand why they're doing this now? You need something that propels the story so that as it begins, you understand the reason why your character is doing what he or she is doing. And that's important to me because, of course, we begin the shows with a murder.
I try and get inside the mind of the killer and think about what the killer's actual steps were, because those will all unfold while Jane and Mara's investigation's taking place.
My daughter is gonna beat your daughter at nationals!
Ow, God, let's go get these two before they kill somebody else.
She was an impediment to whatever this person wanted, right? Because he or she grabs scissors and kills the mom.
Scissors are grabbed from from the most opportune location and stuck into her.
Once you've created this world, you have to look at your victim and you have to think, okay, who's in that victim's circle? And you have to think like a homicide detective, which is why we have one on staff.
Which is my other question. Where are the marshals when she's dying or dead?
Once she's dead, if she's active in the program, she could have withdrawn from the program. I spent 32 years in the Boston Police Department. I spent 5 years in uniform, and I spent about 17 years in undercover work, and I spent my last 11 years working in homicide.
To me, it's a huge gift to have someone who's lived in that world. I've got a great imagination. I can make up all kinds of stuff, but I really can't make up some of the stuff that human beings will do. And Russ has a wealth of these stories.
Each and every murder, each and every autopsy scene, even if I know about it, I'll research it to make sure that it's current with my knowledge. I'll try to get as much knowledge as I can bring out to the set with me. So I don't just go on my experience. I go on my experience plus the research that I'll do for each script.
What would it say to you if she's had really extensive plastic surgery?
It's going to tell me that she's either very vain and she wants to look younger, or she's perhaps hiding her identity.
But there's something so wonderful about having a detective where you could say, what kind of scissors would penetrate between the third and fourth intercostal ribs? How much force would I need? And really only somebody who's gone through thousands of autopsies and handled thousands of murder cases could really tell you that. And that's Detective Russ.
Oh, you too. Oh. My relationship with Russ, I think, is different than everybody else's. And I say that proudly, and I'll brag about it totally. I went to Boston and hung out with the homicide unit simply and solely because of Detective Russ. Jane is molded after Detective Russ. I found a sort of similarity with him. Jane has to be sort of tomboyish and like a man, and sort of, that's how she sort of disappears among her peers. And I watch Detective Russ. I watch the way he interacts with other men. I watch the way he interacts with women. And I just sort of mold Jane accordingly.
I don't want her to ever know about the drinking.
Let's hope that's the worst thing there is to know.
I'm making 15 movies in about 9 months. That's a lot of footage. It's a lot of film. It's a lot of story. You have to really sort of pay attention to everything that you've written, because it's in your head, and I do my very best and ask my writers to do the same, to convey what's in your head, what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like, what it tastes like. Put all that on the page.
All right? Boom! Right in the eyes.
That can do serious damage to the cornea.
This is my thought, yes.
And the best news of all is watch this. 214! We know what that is. It's Dance Moms and Corsac. So, cool. Male killer. Awesome. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All right. Excellent.